In the heart of Adaora, a village where the sun danced gently over the palm fronds and the river sang through the stones, lived a girl whose heart flowed like the night sky. Her name was Nia, a name that meant purpose in the old tongue. She was as gentle as the morning dew, and when she smiled, even the gray clouds parted to see her teeth that shone like tiny shells from the river. Nia was born to Okafor and Mama and Kem, a couple so deeply bound by love that the villagers often said, if Okafor breathes, and Kem sighs, together, they owned a fine compound near the stream, where they raised goats, harvested yam, and told stories under the moonlight. Nia was their only child, the apple of their eyes and the rhythm in their laughter. From her mother, Nia inherited her long, black hair that fell past her waist, soft and dark as a moonless night. The villagers called her Adaora, the daughter of water, because when she walked, her hair swayed like ripples on the surface of a calm river. Many young men admired her beauty from afar, whispering prayers that they might one day win her heart. But Nia was only 15, still more a dreamer than a woman, more a melody than a song. Then came the season when the Harmattan refused to leave. The air was dry and the winds restless. The drums that once echoed with laughter in the evenings grew silent, as though they mourned what the village was yet to lose. One morning, as the rooster crowed thrice, Mama and Kem fell ill. It started with a cough that shook her chest like a broken drum. At first, Okafor called the village healer, who mixed herbs and chanted words of strength, but the sickness deepened. Her laughter faded. Her voice, once bright as a calabash bell, turned weak and hollow. For weeks, Nia stayed by her mother's side, fanning her, cooking thin porridge, and singing the lullabies her mother used to sing to her. Nia, my child, Mama and Kem whispered one evening, her hand trembling on the mat. When the wind comes and the moon hides, remember what I taught you. Water never fights the stone, yet it carves through it. Tears filled Nia's eyes. Mama, don't talk like that. You will be strong again. But her mother only smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Even the strongest tree must one day rest its roots. That night, as the moon rose above the raffia roof, Mama and Kem's breath slowed and stopped. The drums of Adaora fell silent. Women wailed through the village. The air smelled of ash and sorrow. Okafor tore his wrapper and poured dust on his head, crying out to the gods to return his wife. But the gods had already taken her, and from that day, the laughter that once filled Okafor's compound turned into echoes of grief. Time, like a stubborn vine, kept crawling forward. One moon, then another. Okafor tried to raise his daughter alone, but loneliness crept into his soul like termites into dry wood. He began to sit longer in silence, drinking palm wine, speaking less. Then came Adaora, a widow from a nearby town. She was beautiful in the sharp way lightning is beautiful, dazzling, but dangerous. Her eyes, though lined with charm, carried the chill of the stream in the morning. She came to Okafor's compound often, bringing food and soft words, and when the village women began to whisper, it wasn't long before Okafor asked her to stay and marry him. Nia stood still the day her father broke the news. Her heart beat fast, her mother's voice echoing faintly in her head. Water never fights the stone. Adaora moved in, bringing her daughter Sofia, a girl of the same age as Nia, but one raised in the spoils of her mother's past wealth. Sofia's beauty was striking, but her heart was proud. She sneered at Nia's simple dresses and soft manner. At first, Nia tried to be kind. She offered to braid Sofia's hair, to share her beads, to show her the short paths through the yam field. But Sofia laughed at her. "Your hair is too long for a farmer's daughter," she would say. "Do you think beauty feeds the hungry?" And her mother, Adaora, would smirk. "Some people are born servants, Sofia. Let them serve." It wasn't long before Adaora took control of the household. She ordered the servants as if she owned the place. She started with little things, telling Nia to sweep twice instead of once, or to fetch water even when the servants could do it. But soon, she gave the servants days off and handed all the work to Nia. Okafor, weary from his trading trips and weighed down by debts, rarely noticed. He thought peace reigned at home, but inside the compound, Nia was treated like a shadow. She woke before dawn, swept every corner, fetched water till her arms ached, and cooked without complaint. Sofia and her mother lived softly, their fingers never touching firewood, their laughter loud and mocking as they ate the best meat from the pot. Still, Nia said nothing. When the moon rose high and all slept, she sat by her mother's grave, brushing her long hair, whispering, "Mama, I am trying to be water." The rains came late that year, and with them came misfortune. Okafor's trading business failed. His ships that carried palm oil to the city never returned. His debts grew like weeds, and soon, he sold most of his lands. Adora's sweet words turned sour. She shouted more, scolded Nia more, and complained of the bad luck that came into her life since marrying a poor man. Then one afternoon, a messenger arrived from Chief Dyke, one of the richest men in the land. The messenger's voice was deep and commanding. My master wishes to help your husband, but he asks something in return, a marriage alliance between his house and yours. His son needs a wife. Adora's eyes widened with interest, but when she heard the rumor that the chief's son was crippled and possibly blind, her excitement turned to disgust. When Okafor came home that evening, he called a family meeting under the mango tree. Nia stood quietly beside the flickering lantern as he spoke. Adaora, the gods have remembered us. Chief Dyke is willing to clear our debts and restore my trade, but his only condition is that one of my daughters marries his son. Adaora frowned deeply. Which daughter? Okafor hesitated. He said he will accept any one of them, Nia or Sofia. Adaora's voice rose. Why my Sofia? Have I not told you I'm keeping her for a rich and healthy man? Give Nia to them. She's useless here anyway. Maybe she can serve him tea from a wheelchair. Nia's heart pounded. She looked at her father, hoping he would defend her, but Okafor, tired and ashamed, looked away. Adaora, maybe you were right. It is only for the family's survival. Tears filled Nia's eyes, but she remembered her mother's words. Water never fights the stone. And so, without protest, she bowed her head. If it is the will of my father, I will go. The next morning, she packed her few belongings, a wrapper, her mother's beaded comb, and a small gourd of palm oil, and followed the messenger to Chief Dyke's compound. Chief Dyke's compound was vast, red earth polished like clay pots, tall pillars carved with ancient symbols, and guards standing at every corner. Nia's heart trembled, but she walked with grace. When she was brought before Chief Dyke, he smiled kindly. He was a tall, dignified man with eyes that held wisdom and curiosity. So this is the daughter you have offered, he said softly. She has a gentle spirit. Then, a door opened, and in stepped his son. To Nia's shock, he was neither crippled nor blind. He stood tall, his body lean and strong, his eyes bright as the morning sky. His name was Obiama. Chief Dyke explained that he had spread false rumors of his son's condition to test the hearts of those who sought his wealth. Many families brought daughters, but all fled when they heard he was lame. Your father alone sent you, and that says much about your soul. Nia bowed deeply, unsure if it was fate or cruelty that had led her here, but Obiama looked at her with warmth. Do not be afraid, Nia. You have come to your own blessing. From that day, she stayed in Chief Dyke's household. She was treated kindly, given beautiful clothes, and taught the ways of the royal women. Obiama spoke to her often, not as a servant, but as an equal. In the evenings, they sat beneath the Adaora tree, talking about life, laughter, and destiny. Slowly, love blossomed between them, quiet and deep. Back in Okafor's house, Adaora and Sofia heard the news that Chief Dyke's son was not crippled after all, and that Nia was now the bride of one of the wealthiest men in Adaora. Adaora screamed so loud that the birds fled from the trees. What have I done? She cried. That useless girl now wears gold while my Sofia still scrubs her nails. Sofia wept bitterly, realizing the treasure they had despised was the stone that hid the gem. Weeks later, when Nia returned to the village with her husband for the harvest festival, the drums that had been silent since her mother's death began to beat once more. Women whispered her name with awe, men bowed their heads in respect. She walked gracefully, her long hair gleaming under the sun, adorned with cowries and gold. Her father wept openly, both in joy and in shame. Adaora and Sofia could barely meet her eyes. Nia knelt before her father. May the gods restore your fortune, she said softly. I hold no grudge. The water that flows from the rock still finds its way home. And from that day, the village of Adaora learned that humility is the cloak of the wise, and kindness is the path that leads to destiny. The moon glowed full at night, and the elders said the spirit of Mama Ankam was smiling, for her daughter had become the river that carved her own way through stone.
The palace drums rolled across the valley that evening, their thunder echoing through every corner of Umuka. From the highest palm grove to the riverbank where the children played, the world seemed to hum with one message: the prince has taken a wife. That night, the air was thick with celebration. Fires blazed in the courtyards, musicians struck their flutes in harmony, and the villagers gathered under the glowing torches that licked at the dusk sky. And there she was, Nia, the girl once scorned as a servant, now robed in royal blue, sitting beside Prince Chike beneath the wide canopy of silk. The gold ornaments around her wrists glimmered like captured sunlight. Yet, Her eyes, deep, brown, and calm, held the same gentleness they always did. She had risen higher than anyone imagined, but her spirit was still rooted in the soil of humility. When the final dance ended and the guests retreated, the compound fell silent except for the distant croak of frogs and the whisper of wind through the palms. Nia sat before her mirror, brushing her long hair that flowed like night itself. She felt Chike's reflection appear behind her. He had changed from his ceremonial robes into a plain white cloth, his eyes soft with something more powerful than admiration, reverence. "You do not speak much, my wife," he said quietly in silence. "There is peace," Nia replied, still brushing her hair. Chike chuckled. "And in peace, there is mystery. The first time I saw you at the river, I knew you were not like the others. You did not bow to my name, you bowed to kindness itself." She turned to face him. "I bowed to goodness wherever it stood. Even kings must remember that crowns are heavy because they sit on mortal heads." Chike smiled, stepping closer. "And yet, your head carries it with ease." Their eyes met, not as strangers, nor merely as prince and bride, but as two souls who recognized in each other the quiet rhythm of the same river. Outside, the wind sighed through the trees, as if blessing the beginning of their union. Days turned to weeks. Nia's life in the palace was filled with wonder but not without unease. The halls were lined with golden masks and ancient carvings, eyes that seemed to follow her everywhere. Servants whispered when she passed, unsure whether to call her madam or the girl with the river hair. Chief Abima, her father-in-law, watched her carefully. Though pleased with her humility, he knew wealth had a way of corrupting even the purest heart. One morning, he summoned her to the inner chamber, a room where only family could enter. The walls were painted with symbols of the gods, and the air smelled of incense. "My daughter," Abima began, "I brought you here not to praise you, but to warn you." Nia bowed. "I am listening, my father." He studied her face. "This house is filled with beauty, but also poison. Jealous tongues, greedy hearts, and secret eyes that hate your rise. Many have worn silk before you, and silk does not always mean safety." She lowered her gaze. "I will walk carefully, my lord." Abima nodded. "Good, but you must also know, Chike is being prepared to inherit my title. Soon he will sit in my seat, and many will come for his throne. The test I gave you before was to find a wife. The one I give you now is to see if you can protect a kingdom." Nia's fingers tightened slightly, but her voice remained calm. "Whatever you command I will do." Abima smiled faintly. "I need no words, only proof." As she left the chamber, Nia felt the faintest shiver along her spine. The test had changed. This time, it was not of love, but of loyalty, cunning, and endurance. That very week, whispers began spreading through the palace. "The prince's wife is too simple. She gives food to servants. Does she think herself one of them? How can a girl from a poor home rule the wealth of Abima?" It started with words. Then, things began to vanish. A gold bracelet here, a silk cloth there. When they were found in Nia's quarters, some servants began to murmur louder. The chief maid, Adaora, approached her one afternoon with a fake smile. "My lady, the women of the palace say you keep more than you are given." Nia looked at her calmly. "If they believe that, let them count my possessions. I keep only what was given." Adaora sneered. "The humble ones are always the cleverest thieves." Before the words could sink in, a deep voice broke the tension. "Enough." Prince Chike stood at the doorway, his expression unreadable. "My wife is beyond your insults, but if you are so certain, let us open her chests and see." They searched everything, every wrapper, every jewel box. All was clean, untouched. Chike turned to Adaora. "You have shamed yourself before your own tongue. Leave before I forget the mercy my wife asks me to show." The maid bowed quickly and ran, trembling, but outside the chamber, her fury burned hotter than ever. One afternoon as the sun leaned west, Nia was called to the main gate. When she arrived, her heart froze. Standing there in dusty clothes and forced smiles were Adaora and Sofia. The guards had already informed her of their arrival, but she had not expected the wave of mixed emotions that rushed through her chest. The same people who had mocked her tears now sought warmth from her shade. Adaora spread her hands dramatically. "My daughter, the gods have favored you. Look at you, radiant as the moon." Nia stood quietly, her face calm but unreadable. "Welcome, Mama Adaora." "Welcome, Sofia." Sofia avoided her gaze. The arrogance that once decorated her features had faded, replaced by shame. Their own wealth had dried up after Okafor's illness worsened, and the world that once bowed to Adaora now ignored her completely. "We came to beg your forgiveness," Adaora said, her voice trembling. "Your father is unwell. Our home has fallen apart. I know I wronged you, my child. Please, help us." Nia took a deep breath. The air between them was heavy with ghosts. For a moment, she saw flashes of herself younger, sweeping floors under Adora's glare, carrying water while Sofia laughed from the veranda. Chike appeared beside her. "Who are these people, my love?" Adora's knees hit the ground. "My lord, we are her family. I am her stepmother. I beg you, show mercy to us." Nia looked at Chike's questioning face and said softly, "They are blood only by name." Adaora began to weep loudly. "Please, Nia, don't turn away." Nia's heart softened. She turned to the guards. "Take them to the guest house, let them eat and rest." Chike looked at her. "You still have mercy for those who caused your pain." She smiled faintly. "My mother taught me that forgiveness is not weakness, it is a seed that blooms in its own time." That night, while the palace slept, Adaora and Sofia sat in the guest house, whispering. Sofia frowned. "Mother, you said we came to beg, but you keep looking around like a thief." Adora's eyes gleamed in the lamplight. "Foolish girl, do you not see, this palace overflows with gold. If we can win Nia's trust again, we might find our way back into power. The prince is kind, he will believe any soft story. But Nia..." Sofia hesitated. "She sees through people now." Adora's lips twisted into a smirk. "Then we will hide our faces with smiles." They did just that. Over the next few days, Adaora began pretending to serve, sweeping, cooking, acting humble before the servants. Sofia played along, helping Nia in the gardens, smiling sweetly at the prince. But one evening, Nia caught them whispering behind the kitchen hut, clutching a small chest of silver bracelets. Her voice was calm when she stepped forward. "Those bracelets, are they yours?" Adaora froze. I was only admiring them. I found them here." Nia's gaze didn't waver. "My father-in-law's bracelets do not belong to admiration. You may go, Mama Adaora, before you break the little dignity you still carry." For the first time, Adaora saw something new in Nia's eyes. Not anger, not pride, but power. Quiet, steady, unshakable power. Adora's voice trembled. "You are not the same girl we once knew." Nia replied softly. "That girl learned her lessons, but she still remembers her teachers." Weeks later, Chief Abima summoned Nia once more. His health had begun to wane, and the elders were pressing for a sign of who would inherit his wealth. "Nia," he said, "I want to give you a choice. In the royal chest are two keys. One opens a box of gold, the other, a box of dust. Take the one you believe will honor your husband." Nia bowed. "Father, may I ask something before I choose?" Abima smiled. "Ask." "If the key to gold brings pride and enemies, and the key to dust brings peace, which one would you choose for your son?" The old man's eyes glistened. "The one that brings peace." Nia bowed deeper. "Then I shall take the key to dust." When she opened the box, a soft wind blew across the room. Inside lay a single carved stone shaped like a heart. Abima laughed weakly. "You have chosen well. The dust you chose is not poverty, it is humility. And humility will guard you longer than gold." The next morning, Adaora and Sofia tried to sneak out of the palace before dawn, their hands heavy with stolen ornaments, but they were caught by the guards. The chief, though frail, ordered them brought before the council. "You came seeking mercy," he said coldly. "Instead, you returned to your old greed." Adaora wept bitterly. "My lord, forgive me, it was hunger that pushed me." Abima looked to Nia. "You are the one they wronged, and yet you have risen above them. What shall be their punishment?" Nia lowered her head for a moment before answering. "Let them go. Shame is punishment enough." The chief nodded. "So be it." And just like that, Adaora and Sofia were sent away, not in chains, but in silence. As they walked out through the palace gates, Sofia whispered, "Mother, we have lost everything." Adaora replied hoarsely, "No, child, we lost our hearts long before the gold." Months passed. The palace regained its calm. Nia often sat by the river garden, the same place she had first met Chike. Sometimes, she would dip her fingers in the cool water and watch the ripples spread, reminders of how small actions can change the world. One evening, Chike joined her with a gentle smile. "My father says you have passed every test he could imagine." Nia smiled softly. "And yet, I did not know I was being tested." He took her hand. "The greatest tests are the ones that come without warning." The wind brushed through her hair, long and luminous beneath the setting sun. Birds flew across the golden sky, and in that moment, the river, the trees, and the heavens themselves seemed to bow before her peace. When Chief Abima passed months later, the drums of the kingdom mourned for 7 days. Chike became the new ruler of Umuka, and beside him sat Nia, the girl once despised, now crowned as queen. Yet even in her glory, she remained the same Nia, who once swept dusty floors, humble, kind, and unafraid of the storms that tested her heart. Villagers told her story by moonlight to their children. She did not win by wealth, she won by grace, and every time the river glowed under the moon, they whispered her name, Nia, the girl with the river hair, the queen who taught the rich to be humble.